In this video, I'm gonna rank the Heroes 2 campaigns. Let's start off with the originals, the Archibald and the Roland campaigns. Now these are excellent. I think they're really enjoyable. I've been playing this game since 2001 and I never got tired of these two variations of the same campaign. It's kind of interesting because this is the only time in Heroes, in the Heroes games when you could actually betray one of the lords and switch sides, essentially. It's quite interesting as well. And the missions are quite unique, most of them anyway, but some are shared between these campaigns. That's kind of interesting. But I'd say there is a difference between these two, and I would probably put the Archibald campaign above the Roland one by quite a little bit, because of, honestly, two reasons. One is that, well, Roland actually has a mission that's filler, the fourth scenario, I'm pretty sure, and yeah, it's a bit of a shame because the Archibald one has way more unique missions, like, for example, the one with the Peasant Revolt, right, where you get thousands of skeletons. So that's pretty fun. And then you have an optional mission, which is Dragon City, so you fight some dragons and whatever, and you get Dragon Alliance or something like that. Whereas Roland, you know, its unique missions are fewer and maybe not as interesting. You know, they're not, their theme is not as interesting. So anyway, yeah, and that's one reason. But the second one is actually the variety of the factions that you can use. Like, for example, you know, the evil side, or the not so good side, right, is composed of warlocks, necromancers, and barbarians. So these are all pretty okay, pretty strong, right, with the warlock being the strongest, obviously. But the Roland side, the good side, has wizards, then knights and sorceresses, and unfortunately, you know, it's not much of a choice on the good side because, you know, whereas in the Archibald campaign, you can switch them up, you can use maybe a warlock sometimes, most of the time necromancer, and sometimes a barbarian, for example, in the Barbarian Wars, the second scenario, you go for a barbarian because you fight only barbarians, it only makes sense, right? But on the Roland side, it's kind of like not really a choice, it's just a choice between, you know, wizards and losing, you know? So, you know what I mean? It's kind of ridiculous because it's, if you choose a knight or a sorceress in most missions on the good side, you make things way harder than they need to be. So that's kind of ridiculous. So yeah, these are the two reasons why I would put the Roland campaign a bit lower than Archibald, but it's still pretty good, I would say. Then we have the expansions, which I've only played this year, right, in 2025. So yeah, I don't really have a nostalgia for them or any bias towards them because I didn't even know when I was growing up. I didn't even know there was an expansion. I only had the originals for whatever reason. So anyway, I started with the Price of Loyalty campaign. So this is actually the name of the expansion, and it seems to be the one that they put the most effort in, but I don't think it's that interesting necessarily. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily replay it. Honestly, it's just here the objective is to just get some artifacts of Andoran, something like that. You get a breastplate, a helm, and a sword, which would increase your defense, spell power, and attack respectively by 5. So those are pretty strong. And ultimately, when you combine them, you get a Shield of Andoran or something like that, which also, apart from those stat boosts, you also get maximum morale and luck, regardless of your army compositions. That's pretty interesting, but you can only use it in the last mission. Okay, that's fine and all. The last mission is one of the best scenarios in the whole game, so that's pretty nice. But other than that, the other scenarios are not really that memorable or that interesting, I wouldn't say. And also the difficulty is very inconsistent. Like the first mission is a complete joke. One of the easiest missions in the whole game. It's almost like a tutorial. It just makes no sense. And then it gets harder, but not necessarily gradually. It's just, it gets harder right from the get-go. Like there's a mission at some point in which even the lore says that you have no chance of fighting some barbarians because there are too many and they have too many resources and they just will destroy you. Now, I'm pretty sure it's possible. I've seen people do it, but it's just a bit strange, I would say. And also, there's a scenario at some point in which it's kind of very RNG dependent, because the first time I played it, like you start off with no town, you capture a Necromancer one, and then the enemies attack you almost right from the get-go, and you have like nothing. You have maybe 3 vampires and some zombies and a few skeletons. All right, fine. But if the enemies have diplomacy on their way to your castle, they might get some archers or whatever, and then they obliterate you. You don't have any spells. Well, you could get some level 2 spells, but it's RNG dependent. If you don't get anything damaging, you're gonna have a bad time. So yeah, I needed to restart the mission, and then all my problems went away. So yeah, too RNG dependent, that one, and it seems like maybe it's just bad design if that can happen so easily. Or maybe I was just super unlucky, but I don't know. Anyway, price of loyalty. I don't really know where to put it, because it was just fine from my point of view. It was a little bit disappointing. I was expecting a bit more, but at least it's a longer campaign, so it's all right. But it doesn't even come near the Roland or Archibald campaign, so I would put it probably even at a C, believe it or not. I don't know, maybe people like it, but from my point of view, except for that last mission, in which, you start off on a small little island, and you need to make your way towards some castles or towns that are scattered throughout some other small islands, and then you finally gather enough of an army to attack a huge land. And that's kind of interesting, because at some point you fight hundreds of bone dragons, and you need to be very strategic about it. And also you have a spell scroll with a town portal, so you can just jump to any of your towns or castles and gather a super huge army. So that's really interesting, but that's not going to save its rating. Price of loyalty, probably a C. Anyway, afterwards, the Descendants campaign, the second one that I played. This is actually pretty good. I liked it way more than Price of Loyalty, for example. So this one is interesting because it has 2 forks, right? So two choices to make, and that makes it very interesting, because the first choice is to save a specific hero, but you can choose to save a wizard, Joseph the Wizard, or Uncle Ivan the Barbarian, something like that. And after you finished one of these missions, you get a reward which gives you the possibility to hire one of them right from the get-go in all of the other missions. So that's interesting, because that's like in the original campaigns, whenever you can hire Brother Brax on the evil side or Sister Liza on the good side. So that's kind of interesting. It's not the best reward out there necessarily, but it's all right. And the second one is actually one of the most ridiculous choices in the whole game, because the rewards are super imbalanced, I would say, because one choice gives you a legendary scepter, which gives you +2 to all attributes, which is kind of like half of an ultimate crown, right? Which you could get in the original campaigns as well. So that's that ultimate crown. I mean, it kind of depends. It sounds in theory to be very good, but if the enemies somehow have a ton of skills, that's not great. Like, for example, how is it possible in the original campaign for you to control Roland, right? Who's supposed to be super strong, right? And you, with the ultimate crown, by the way, you have the same stats as some random guy that attacks you, right? Some random, I don't know, Wilfried the Wizard that has 12 spell power, 10 knowledge, and 10 attack. Am I supposed to just roll with that? Like, how? How is that possible, right? Hey, he doesn't have a crown, but he's just as strong as Roland with the crown. That's crazy. And it's kind of the same thing here. If you get the legendary scepter and let's say Joseph the Wizard, you're just as strong as the enemies that attack you right from the get-go. And I'm like, dude, how? And they don't even have an artifact or anything. They just spawn like that. Okay, fine. But the thing is, the other choice is ridiculously strong, because any elf stack in the final mission on the adventure map will join you for free. That's insane, because there are so many elves that you can essentially start the mission with, let's say about 200 elves, which is really strong, as opposed to having one legendary scepter on one guy, and that's it. It's not like everybody spawns with the legendary scepter. No, you only have one, and you're being attacked by from multiple angles. So, okay, it's just not even close. It's the only time during my playthroughs, my recent playthroughs, wherein I needed to backtrack and to choose the other thing. Because I went for the scepter. I mean, I didn't even know, because this is one of the problems with these Heroes games or campaigns. The first time you play them, you have no idea what you're doing. Most things only make sense in hindsight. So, but yeah. I got the legendary scepter, and I just couldn't finish that final mission in the Descendants campaign. It was ridiculous. Maybe I'm not as skilled enough, sure, but I went back, got the Elven Alliance, and then everything became way easier, and I finished it. So anyway, the Descendants campaign, very interesting. I think I would replay this one for sure, so it must be probably above the Price of Loyalty, maybe a B plus, something like that, but it's still a bit of a difference between it and the Roland campaign. This is really good. I mean, it's kind of an A plus, S minus, but just for the sake of it, let's just keep it like this. Anyway, afterwards, it's the Voyage Home. This is a shorter campaign. It only has 3 missions, with the final one being actually a choice. You can choose which side to be on. This is a campaign that's not that ambitious, I would say. It's very short, and it's not. The first 2 missions are not that memorable. The first one, you need to be a little bit strategic with some trolls and their regenerative ability. But other than that, it's not really that interesting. Second one, it's, again, whatever. And the third mission is actually kind of interesting because you have this choice. You can side with a knight, Lord Alberon, or you can side with the protagonist's sister, Dracania, and fight Lord Alberon. So you can, it's just the same map, but you choose if you want to play with the knights or the necromancer. So that's kind of interesting, and I liked that mission. But again, it's not really going to save it. And I don't know about this one. Like, it doesn't feel like it did anything particularly wrong, except for just not being ambitious. You know, like, for example, when I was in college, we had at some point some assignments that were ranked based on difficulty. And if you would choose an easier one, your grade would be capped, meaning that if you would do a perfect job for that easy task, you would only get, let's say, a 7 out of 10, or maybe like a C plus or something. But if you would choose a more difficult assignment, and you would do a perfect job, you would get the perfect grade. However, it is entirely possible to do a mediocre job and get a lower grade than the perfect job for an easier task. You know what I mean? So I thought that was pretty fair. So here, it's kind of the same thing. Like, they did a relatively good job, but the task itself is kind of whatever, right? So the Voyage Home, I think it's one of the weaker ones. But just because of that, if it would have been longer, if it would have had some more interesting dynamics or something, like, it's Voyage Home, but you never really, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it would have been interesting to do more of a pirate theme, or a neutral tier creatures theme or something like that, but it's not really like that. It's just, maybe it was rushed, maybe, I don't know. But it's one of the weaker ones, I would say, so maybe below Price of Loyalty. I'm not sure if I would replay it. Maybe only the final mission, so it's kind of the same, but it's still shorter. Anyway, it's whatever. I didn't think much of it. So, the final one, the Wizard's Isle. Well, I didn't have many expectations for this one. I just thought, okay, it's the final one. I'm going to be done with all the campaigns and all that. But it was actually very impressive. Right from the get-go, it starts with a mission that's not really easy. It's not hand-holding you. It's not a easy tutorial or something like that. No, man. It's just, you're on an island, and you could be attacked from multiple sides because you're surrounded by other enemies, but they're not allied against you. So that's kind of interesting. So it's most missions are a little bit tricky. Like, you need to be kind of strategic about it, so that's pretty good. And the final mission is quite one of the strongest ones, because you start off on a small island, you go around, there's a huge island in the middle, you go around, you find some resources, whatever. It's quite interesting. I think this is one of the stronger expansion campaigns. I would put it even above the Descendants one. It's really enjoyable. I would play it again. I just finished it, and I think I could play it again the first, actually. So that's pretty interesting. Now, a final note, maybe I could see, let's say the Roland campaign being S- and Wizard's Isle being here, but I think this is fine. Let me know what you think. Have you played all the campaigns? Do you have a different opinion? Maybe you liked Price of Loyalty more? Who knows? Well, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.